it costs a lot of money to run for an elected office. And in order to get the money, we need to, fundraise, right? Your Congress member needs to raise funds. And this can lead to sort of two problems. A lack of democratic equality. The idea of democracy is every person gets one vote, but money, unlike votes, are not distributed equally. So if I donate $10, that's a chunk of my expendable income. Whereas if, say, Elon Musk donates $10,000, that's nothing to him, right? So does that mean he gets maybe more of a say in this phase of democracy than I get? Because he can spend more money funding candidates. So there's a concern that it could undermine democratic equality. And then there's the second concern, that it could lead to the appearance or actuality of corruption. Right? If Elon Musk can donate $10,000 or $100,000 to a candidate, he could donate millions. There's a concern that he could basically buy their votes once they're in Congress. Right? A Congress member whose entire campaign has been funded by Elon Musk is probably going to feel rather beholden to Elon Musk and vote favorably on any bills that come up that Elon Musk, wants them to vote favorably on, or vote against bills that come up that he doesn't want. Right? So there could be room for corruption. And even if there isn't, even if politicians don't behave in a corrupt manner because they get more money from certain people than from others, there's still a concern that it might look that way. And that's often down to the post hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy, that the votes come after they're elected. So if a group gives a lot of money to a candidate and then the candidate votes the way the group wants them to, did that group buy their votes? So, for example, the NRA gives money to certain candidates and then runs independent expenditure ads, we'll talk about those, for some candidates. So did the NRA buy those candidates' votes on pro-gun issues? Maybe? But more likely, they donated to those candidates because they knew those candidates would already be pro-gun, and they wanted that pro-gun candidate to win. So more likely, the candidate already would have voted pro-gun. It's just the NRA funded them to get them in. So they didn't really buy the vote exactly, but rather the opinion, the pro-gun opinion, got the candidate to vote a certain way and got them the money that allowed them to get into the office so that they could vote that way, if that makes sense. So this is post hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy because the money came before the vote. So since the vote happened after, it must be caused by the money, but that's not necessarily true, right? The third factor, the Congress member's opinions, caused both the money and the vote. So because of that, we really want to avoid the appearance of corruption, and we want to avoid too much money being involved so that corruption becomes more and more obvious sort of seeming and more potentially dangerous to our democracy. So in the 1970s, Congress started to feel like money on campaigns needed to be better regulated. And they first passed the Federal Election Campaign Act. And this provided some public funds for presidential campaigns, and it required the full public reporting of, and strict limits on, campaign contributions and campaign spending in federal elections. So it meant that candidates could only collect a certain amount of money from any donor, and they could only spend a certain amount of money. This led to the appearance of soft money in politics, and we will talk about that in another video. Now, this, as you'll see on here, compares to the 2002 Bipartisan Campaign Finance Reform Act, because the Federal Election Campaign Act wasn't enough, and as we'll see in another video, the court overturned some of its measures. And because of these measures being overturned, and because of the soft money that started coming into politics after sort of an effect of the Federal Election Campaign Act, Congress needed to step in and do more. And they started regulating this soft money, prohibiting parties from raising and spending it, and prohibiting the spending of it on certain types of ads. These are called issue advocacy ads within 30 days of a primary and 60 days of a general election. Now, this ultimately also got sort of tweaked by the Supreme Court, as we'll see, but these two acts together have limited at least the ability of candidates for federal office from raising too much money from a single individual or single interest group. And again, the idea here is to ensure democratic equality and to reduce the ability to corrupt our politicians and even the appearance of corruption. Now, if you're interested in things like soft money and what the Supreme Court did to both of these laws, check out our other videos.